So let me begin by saying, Stoker, I apologize. Hopefully, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I had a question on some of your comments last night that, I wanted to go through here and. Where's your comments at? Well, at any rate, where's your comments, man? Well, it's not letting me see your comments. But at any rate, he has a question inside of here that applies to what are the principles of training. And as he goes through, he talks about educational operational and self-development. And here we got another officer going through and leaving the career over a system. Now, whether it be for whatever reason, I got a couple other posts up here. I want you to go through these board questions and
back to the channel,
stay
man.
stoked.
As always, I'm stoked and I'm pumped up to see you, baby.
Stay
Come
stoked.
on now. How y'all doing?
Love this work. Give the guy a like, man. Get in here and watch some of the videos. This is a first sergeant talking about board promotions, which is a very important concept. And I know we've been talking about the board in terms of a chess game or a standard, and we're not actually talking about him. But another 19-year officer says, screw it, under the Constitution of what some of these things represent. It's like they don't believe in the standards or what comes up into it. And there's a reason for it. For this common core and critical theory about the calculus of the results of these things being so vastly different over standards against what potentially this board question may represent. I mean, yes, there's the educational models of what it is, along with the operational models that could apply to any self-development inside of here. And what some of these standards kind of correlate into. Let me just click up to a phase up inside here about what this Constitution represents in general relativity. Army's Queen Derby run. I can present that and get in a strength, a dexterity, and Constitution. And we can begin to graph the calculus or situational simulators about what this standard represents to educate and have a perceived model of what education is 1 + 1 = 2, but what does 1 + 1, or what does 2 equal in terms of how we can apply it to the situation inside here, or 2 frames by, what it is, 1 + 1 = 2, and how else, this situation may represent another standard in a totally different way. Well, that's a little bit of a wisdom, isn't it? Isn't that for the 11 principles, as Stoker would put it inside here? Or how does command initiate, or how does command integrate procedures into training, right? Training troops or ready units, right? So here we have a standard. This is map making. This is general form design. This is its own right a constitution. Somebody who didn't stay into these rules, somebody who went against the trajectory and calculus of what these values represent and how that correlates into it. Now, eventually I got into a standard about the formation of the Democratic and Republican Party and why Washington was none of those things. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are inside here. What's more important is that you're sticking to the frame, because then I have something to argue with against. Then I have something to stand up and represent for, because, hey, the D&D board in here sometimes wind up being more comprehensive than what the standards. We could teach kids inside the situations. Now, I'm not saying that every teacher should free think this lab, but as a standard inside here, I could say, hey, as an 8th grade teacher, this is how you go through the mathematics of why the tangent on this topology, whether it be a ranger, a cleric, there's a dragon on the board. How do I add situations into this? What situations from the past give me a value that I think everybody in here would understand to, and then follow my lead into the situation as I present this board to the standard model. We get into this, and you'll hear me talk about it in this video right here, about how at the educational level or the institution level, it is an operation. that educational models of command have different situations. You are responsible for your own training, but somebody from the command lead might have more situational awareness than you do about the overall indexes of those situations. And it is very easy and very easy to look up and easy to check in terms of the NP problem. Now, we as mathematicians and things like that, we're going to use a system like that as our constitution. Is that something that now changes your trajectory or alters that standard in some way? Becoming a graphing model to say, I haven't needed to once any of these Democratic or Republican bullshit inside here. What I need is a map or a standard or a generalized form that I could then begin to put people to, stick to the model and say, hey, you know, we've been doing this for a good long time. Nothing's changed inside here except for somebody saying that this standard model wasn't correct. It would be insanity. It would be something that says inside here, the more prime numbers come up for what these standards represent, then something's not necessarily correct inside here. Now, are there variables where it doesn't come up? But can you clearly argue whether it's right or wrong? There's opinions on both sides of this that says that situation is a dragon under the black body radiation of that problem right there. It creates time dilation. It creates lag in the situation. It creates lensings of the situation. It alters what could be on the map today by how many limited people or players are on the board, whether at the military level or at the educational governmental level.
There is this army officer that's coming to the public spotlight.
You know, so we have to start to look at this stuff and say, hey,
this is not being shared across.
How do I take one of those forms about the general model of that Queen's Derby run to say, that's how strong they are? With that same test, it'll give me an idea about dexterity. With that model, it'll give me about constitution. How willing are they to stay with that model and represent that model because it's something they believe in or something they're good with? With that said, let's say somebody's not so good with it. Would that be a base of saying, hey, inside of that has a lot to do with calculus? That same Queen's Derby run for the Rangers has a lot to do with the wisdom. Now, I've seen those actions before, and when I've seen somebody do that on the recall, they had these effects inside here, and how I'm going to go about explaining that to them with the charisma that I have, the enthusiasm and the stoked motivation that we're going to put into that situation. You know, are those kinds of ideals inside of here? You know, how many times can you go through with this before you see that? Because that's going to be stamina. That's going to be some level inside here. Like, look, sometimes that alone is the test. Sometimes that's the dragon underneath the sheets of these mathematical sheets or forms that can be created inside here. Who's keeping to it? So let's go back through the system. You know, is this something that can be broken down from an educational level at the Common Core? You know, can we take that D&D board and then alter it in such a way that, hey, I have a character card like that. My name is Jordan Scoville. I have an MOS of this or that, and how I correlate to what the values are. It's going to not just say, hey, that's great for what you need down here, but how to also make the authorizations on a field where the time topology changes some way. And therefore would correlate to, hey, General, or hey, Mission Command, High Command, these are some of the problems I faced with inside here, how I've graphed the math based on how you taught me to do this. Can you explain to me a functional way of some artifact or scroll or secret spell I don't know about inside here, how to augment or adjust this situation without it violating the constitution of that board?
That's no problem at all.
You know, inside here I would have put that back up, but there you go. And that's something I want you guys to think about inside here of these being the results of what happens inside here. Has little or nothing to do with woke for the most of the time inside here. And oftentimes when you hear somebody say something under those standards, they're way off. You know, you're not talking about the quantum mechanic values inside here. And one of the most important things about that is a dead giveaway to that standard is when somebody starts to lead into the quantum mechanics, have they covered the entropy from this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction? And when they went to this, they went and changed that value to this direction in the first system. We're going to go here, then we're going to go here, 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 and work our way clockwise. When I'm there, based on what we determined the constitution of those steps to be, that we chose that pattern. First I went here, then I went here, and because I already had that prior step done, I'm going to skip that system over here. Now, no matter which direction I came from inside of that, we have to have that model based inside of a situational form. And that takes years. That takes multiple aspects of questions and standards and models and simulations that have to be graphed and formed inside of here. And usually one of the first things that's a dead giveaway again, when somebody starts talking about that quantum mechanics stuff or or why that critical theory is so important at that point in stage. Because here we're not talking about a very specific design of the Common Core and just in itself how critical that design board is, or how critical those calculuses are by that standard. Are they just going off on some tangent? Are they being complete in the entropy of trying to develop their character card, or why their character card can become a constitution which somebody else can use? So that's my note to you. I wanted to make sure I got that out to you and specified those facts. Catch you on the next one. Stay stoked. Give this guy a like. Come on.
It's simply